to discuss how to work with databases in Django. In the beginning, we will be discussing about how built-in SQLite database can be used in Django applications, and later subsequently we can see how MySQL can be connected to Django applications, how you can store the data and also retrieve and also try to render the data. So we'll see all those in this particular video. So for demonstrating how to use databases, I'm going to create a new project, Django project, and I'll be showing some initial steps of how Django projects are created. So let's start creating the projects. So so this is my terminal. So I'm operating and building everything in my Mac system. So if you are in Windows, it would be slightly different, especially how you activate the virtual environment, and how do you operate with MySQL. Some of those commands will change, otherwise more or less it would be exactly similar. Wherever there is a change in how to use in Windows systems, I'll be trying to point out the relevant command to be used in Windows. So first so this is my Mac terminal. So let's go create a Django projects. Before I create a Django projects, I'll enter into a directory. So I have all my Django projects in my Django projects folder. So these are my already pre-existing folders, but here I have my virtual environment. This is where I installed Django. So I'll be activating the virtual environment. So in this command, we both Mac and Windows has a slightly different command. In Mac we have source. So you source, give the virtual environment name, and bin activate. So this is the command for activating the virtual environment. As we can see here, now the virtual environment is activated, which means all the packages which has been installed in this virtual environment can be accessed and used for all the projects which are developed under this virtual environment. So I have already installed Django, so I'm not doing any installation here. So let us now create a Django project. So if the equivalent command in Windows is you can use dot slash I think demo slash scripts slash activate. This is the equivalent command in Windows. So I'm not running here because this is Mac. So once we activate the virtual environment, we need to create the Django project. So we have this command Django admin start project, and I'm calling this as my Django DB as the name of the Django project. So I'm creating this project in my virtual environment. I can see that project here. So my Django DB. So now I want to enter into that project. So my Django DB ls, you can see these are the two files which are created when I create the Django project. So one is manage.py and the other is my Django DB. So you can enter my Django DB and you can check the files. So these are the default files which are present in a Django project, settings.py and urls.py. But we usually create a app and work with that app. So let me you can create the app here, or you can directly go to your Visual Studio Code and also do there. So what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a app here. Python manage.py start app, and I'm calling my app as my DB app. So this is what I'm calling my app, and I'm entering here. So let us see what has happened. So earlier we had only these two files, manage.py and my Django DB, whereas now we have my DB app also. So if you enter into my DB app, you will see the relevant files. You have models.py, views.py, where you write all the methods, and we have admin.py, all those things which we will be using while we create access to databases. So let's now open this project in Visual Studio Code and work on it. So let me go to my projects. So Django projects. So this is where I have created my project. So I'm opening that here. So as you can see here, we have our project my Django DB, and also my DB app towards the left side in the Explorer. And we can open the terminal by clicking on new terminal here. So here we can see, this is, once again we are not in the virtual environment, so we have to enter into the virtual environment. So here demo is the virtual environment, so type source demo bin and activate. So currently I am in the virtual environment. So and I can enter my project using my Django DB. So this is what I have, all the files. So our first step is to create a urls.py in our app. So currently our app does not have any urls.py, so I am creating urls.py, and this project's urls.py contains some default content. I'll be connecting this to my app urls.py. So in order to do that, we need to have one more row here, one more entry. So we should use include, which we are going to import shortly, and give the name of the app, which is mydb app dot urls. So we are trying to connect the project urls to the app urls, and also import include. So we have to do this, and with a comma, save it. So we have connected our project urls to app urls. So this is where we will write all URL patterns. So in order to have a basic URL pattern, so first we need to import from django.urls, import path, and from we want to also import views. And we want to create URL patterns here. URL patterns is a list which contain each line is a path. So here by default we have home folder, home URL. So this will be directed to views.home. So in the views.py we will be initiating a method, Python method called as home shortly. So and the name to access this URL is also given as home. So this is the first URL pattern which we created in the urls.py of the mydb app, which is the app which I created under the folder my Django DB. My Django DB is the project folder, mydb app is the app. So once we have done this, we want to go, we will edit the views.py. So views.py currently does not have any method. So here I am going to write the Python method. So let me zoom it a bit. So here I am going to write the home method. So by default the method should import request, HTTP request, and so here we are not doing anything, we are just returning rendering the home.html file. So once again request should be the default argument, and home.html should be rendered. So we haven't created home.html, which we need to do it. So save this file, also save the previous files also. So once we have saved the files, we can create a folder. So I'm creating the folder here where the manage.py lies. So here I'm calling this as templates. within this templates folder, I'm creating a new file called as home.html. And this home.html, I'm just in the beginning, I'm placing simple content, say hello world. So let me zoom this. So hello world, simple h1 tag. So here by default it would be Django HTML. If you use HTML, if you can change to HTML, automatically it autofills the commands of HTML. So hello world. So this is what we want to print. So this is just a kind of prelude before we go to the databases. So let me run this and see whether I am getting the right output or not. But before that, we have one more change in the project folder. If we go to settings, we have to change this to, we have to give the path under this. So first, before that, we need to import OS, because we'll be using the OS here. So import OS and go to templates. Under templates we have dirs key, so this has to be changed to os.path.join, and here you can put base underscore dir comma your templates folder. So templates, so this is mandatory to access, otherwise we'll be getting errors. os.path.join base underscore dir comma templates. So once we have done this, so we have made all the changes. Now we can go to our terminal and we can just run this file. So python manage.py run server. So if you hover on it, so we need to do this migrate step when we are accessing, when we create databases, which we'll do slowly. But as of now, we have to, we can see the output by clicking on this and going to a Google Chrome and enter this. So we got the output. So this is the first output, but we want to access database. So how do we connect to databases, that we will see. So first step in creating creating tables in databases is Django comes with a by default SQLite database. As you can see here, db.sqlite3. So but you need to install few extensions to actually view these tables. So that also I'll explain slowly. But before that, first we will create a table using model classes. So let me go to app here, models.py. So let me create a class called as customer, and to create tables using classes, we have to inherit from models.model. So in Python, when you write inside the parentheses inside a class, so it inherits. So we are inheriting models.model, and here, so let me zoom it further. So here I have only two arguments. I am just using name as one of the argument, and here models.char field, so char field, give max length as 100 comma null is equal to true. So this is one, and age is equal to models.char field comma max length is equal to say 200 comma 200 or anything 50 comma null is equal to true. So once we enter it, to have a, we also write double underscore str double underscore self. So when we, this has particular advantage, especially when you're using admin page where it displays with the name of the customer, it would be easier to see that. So return self dot name, so it will just display the name in the admin page. So we have created one class called as customer, and we want to convert this into a table and create entries for it. So in order to do that, first we should, after models.py, we should also edit admin.py. Here we need to first import the models. So from .models import star, which includes, when I say star, it imports all the models or all the classes which are present in the models .py file, and we need to register it, admin.site.register, and mention the name of the class, which is customer. So save this file, so and also save the models.py file. So once this is done, we are ready for migrating. So by default, as I said, if you go to settings.py and under databases, you can see db.sqlite 3, we have it. So it stores in this SQLite, default SQLite database, which comes along with Django. So in order to see this details, so let me first come out of it, Control C, and we have to do migration. So python manage.py make migrations. So and python manage.py migrate. So after this, python manage.py run server. So once we have done this, so we have all the tables created. By default, it stores in SQLite 3, because in the settings.py we have set databases to SQLite 3, default SQLite 3. So how do you view this content? One way is, first of all, we did not create any entries into it. So let's first create entries into the tables. So in order to do that, we need to enter into shell. So let's do that. So I'll come out of it. So we have to type python manage.py shell. So it will allow you to go into the shell where you can write commands and create entries. So here first I'll import my app models. So mydb app dot models import customer. So I've imported the customer. So there is some error. So it says that does not declare an explicit app level. Okay, so there is one small thing which I forgot to do, which is I have to mention this app here in the under the installed apps. So it would be my db app and comma, save this, and you can rerun it before we, so exit it first, and maybe just do this, both the steps, make migrations. As you can see here, now the things have got migrated, mydb, and also type migrate. So now you can go to your shell and import your app models. So mydb app dot models import customer. So customer class we have created, this customer class is equivalent to a customer table now. So let's see how we can enter the entries. So we have commands in Django like customer is a class, right? So we can access objects dot create and create. Now we can do entries. So suppose like I want to say Raju as one of the entry, and age is equal to say 30. You can create this entry. So okay, we need to end with semicolon. So I think there was no need of semicolon. So this has created the entry, customer dot objects dot create, name is equal to Raju and age is equal to 30. But how do you see that? So to see whether the entry has happened or not, since it is using SQLite 3 database, so we need some viewer. So there are good extensions. If you go here in the Visual Studio Code, the 5th button is extensions. So the first one is Explorer, Search, Source Control, Run and Debug, and extensions. If you go here and you type SQLite, so this is an extension by Alex CVZZ. You can actually install it. I have already installed it, so it is in this mode. So if you install this extension, what it allows us to do is so one second, so we can close this. So what it allows us to do is we can view the tables. So now since I already have it and I've also migrated it, I'll just open database. So here SQLite Explorer, I have it. So click on this. So I can go to this. So the table, I have all the tables here. So this is my table. So I can see the content what I have entered here. Raju 30. So the same thing, let me create one more entry, and let's do it. So suppose Tom, say 35, and you just create and enter, and just close it and refresh the SQL Explorer and click on it once again. You can see the data Tom 35. So in this way you can create entries, and you can also view the tables here. You can create multiple tables and view that in Django SQL default SQLite database, which comes as part of Django. But how do you connect these to your MySQL? So let me now discuss how we have to connect to a MySQL. So or any other Postgres or any other, but I'll be using here MySQL as the database. So I already have MySQL in my system. So if I go here to my terminal, so and if I type say MySQL -u root -p, so it will ask the password. So you can give the password whatever you have set. So this is the MySQL. It can show all the databases. Okay, these are the databases which I already have. So this we have to first create a database here and connect to our Django. So that also we'll see it now. We will first see what are the major changes which we need to do so that we can connect to MySQL database instead of SQLite, default SQLite database. So as you can see in settings.py, we have a variable called as databases, and this variable has to be adjusted. So let me just copy this and also comment this and create a new database variable. Here I'll be making few changes here. So our engine should be django.db.backends.mysql. So first change, and also our name should be name of the database. So I'll name it as simple mydb2, and our host, we should have host. So that should be our local host, which is 127.0.0.1, and this should be placed in single quotes, comma. Port should be equal to 3306. User, this is your username. If you have set root, you can use it root. If you have used some other username, you have to place that here. So place comma after everything, every element, because this is a dictionary. So we have to, it's a key value pair, so we have to follow it. Here you need to enter the password. So inside here the password, both it should be in the single quotes. Currently I'm placing it here as stars, but here you place your password. So this is what is needed, changes which are needed. I'll place this password towards the end. So once we make these changes, there are certain things which need to be installed in Django in order for MySQL to work. So I have listed out in a PDF. So let me show this. So these are the things which you need to install. First, pip install MySQL client. So this has to be installed, which I have already done. So we have to import these into our settings.py, which we will do it shortly. And you also need to install PyMySQL. So if you type these in the terminal, it will install into your virtual environment. So I'll not be doing these steps. Make sure you do these steps. But importing PyMySQL is necessary, so I'll be using that in the top. So import PyMySQL, and also I'll be using this command. So place this in the top. Making changes in settings.py, we need to do the make migrations. So go to terminal, type python manage.py make migrations, and so it is saying mydb2 is unknown database, so we need to create the database in MySQL. So we can go to our MySQL, and here we can type create database mydb2. So this is what we gave the name to our database. So, and yeah, now we can see the databases. As you can see, we have mydb2 as the database. Now go back and try to do the make migrations. So no changes detected. Migrate. So all these got migrated now to MySQL. So what we are essentially doing is the customer table, instead of saving in SQLite DB, we are trying to save the same table in MySQL, which is not part of Django, which is an external software database, which is MySQL. So but since I have given it as a local host, so that is exactly there in this laptop. So once we have migrated, we can create entries. So to do that, you can use shell. Go to shell, and here first try to import the models. So to import the models, just like earlier, so type from mydb app, this is the app name, so dot models, import the customer, which is the only class we created to create the table. So once we imported it, we can create entries into the table by customer dot objects dot create, and give the both the variables name as say Raju, and comma age is equal to some 40, so some 40, and you can create this entry. So once you create this entry, now this entry is saved in MySQL and not SQLite. So just to see that, we will go to our MySQL. So this is MySQL. I'll be using the database mydb2. So let me see what all tables we have there. So you can turn off this feature. Okay, currently, so now let me show the tables. So these are the tables. As you can see here, the customer table we are able to see. Let me list see the what all content we have from mydb app underscore customer. So this is the content we exactly placed it. Let me just show one more case where we enter another entry, say gym or something, and say age is say 50. So if I enter this, so let us go back and once again enter this query. As you can see, both these entries. So now I'm able to store the data from Django to my database, my SQL database, not in the SQLite. Whatever I am doing now, if you go to here, these whatever gym data which I entered is not saving in my SQLite. It is now saving in MySQL. So in this way, by making few changes in the settings.py and few installations like MySQL client and PyMySQL, we can easily store the data in MySQL and also retrieve and do various other operations. So in the next video we will see how we can get input from user through HTML forms and try to save the same data in the MySQL database. Currently we are using this shell by to give the entries, to create the entries. Instead we can, there is another way also, you can go to admin page of Django and also add the customers. That is another way which is discussed in the previous videos. So that we will see the to get information from the HTML forms and to store it in the database will be seen in the next video. Thank you. See how we can access inputs from user and store it in MySQL database. So in order to do that, first we need to have a URL pattern. So let me call that as insert data. So we will be using a similar name with a similar we'll be using similar name for the method views.insert data. That will be defined shortly, and the name of the comma name is equal to insert data. So what we are doing essentially here is we are going to define an insert data method in views.py, and our URL is insert data / insert data, and that can be accessed in other HTML files using insert data. This is the name. For simplicity we have kept the similar name. So now once we go to views.py, here we want to create that method insert data. So request should be the default argument, and here we need to get the inputs. In the beginning let me just write return render request as the default argument and direct once again back to home.html. But I'll be accessing all the data which we place it in home.html here. But let's first go back to home.html now. So we know all HTML files are all placed in templates folder. So go to home.html here. So now we can replace this and select. So here, as I said earlier, Django HTML can be replaced to HTML so that it will suggest few things. So I want to use forms here. So and the action here is insert data. We want to, once user clicks on the submit button, it has to execute the insert data URL, which will direct to the insert data method. So I have to give the action is equal to insert data, and also the method should be post. So post method. So we don't need this comma. So and here we'll be accessing the inputs, but before that we need to place CSRF token underscore token. So here we'll be using input tags to get to access the content. So input is equal to type is equal to text, and name is equal to I'll call this as name bar. So just close this input tag, and just to have some good space, I'm just placing this br here, and just copy and paste one more for age. So here we call this as age, and this variable name as age var. So so we created two input tags. So now I'll be having a input tag with submit button. So input type is equal to submit, and close this input tag. So that's it. So we have a HTML form which takes two inputs, name and age, from the user, and this has to be directed to the database. So it is pretty simple. So now let's access that. Whatever we entered, whatever user enters will be accessed into a variables. So let the variable be, say, n. You can access that using request dot post, given the square bracket, mention the variable name. So there we gave it as name var, and also a age also you can access into the variable, Python variable a. So and call this as age var. So now after doing both this, so now we got both name and age entered by the user. So this has to be sent to the database. So this is where once again customer dot objects dot create, we will send name is equal to n comma age is equal to a. So earlier we used shell to execute this command. Now we are doing it in this views.py. But note, we will be needing this customer which is part of model. So just import that. So from dot models import customer, or you can import the star so that all the models can also be imported. Here I'll be using only customers. So from dot models import customer. So now we can save this file and run this file. So let me go to terminal here and do Control D, Python manage.py, make migrations. So what we have done here is essentially we got the input from the user, we accessed the same, in views, and we have created the entries into the database. So that's what we want to migrate here. So Python manage.py, make migrations, Python manage.py migrate. So if you do this, both migrations have been done, and the changes also will be reflected. So now Python manage.py run server. So go back to this URL, copy it, and go to Google Chrome, and or else just refresh the screen. You can see both these things. So just enter some name, so something like this, submit it. So it is saying so there is some problem, the current path insert data did not match any of this. So let's see what is the problem here. We just need to save the file before we execute that. That's what we missed it earlier. So let's rerun this. So Python manage.py make migrations, Python manage.py migrate. We have already ran this, but once again we are doing all the steps. So now if we visit this link, so go to your Google Chrome, it's already there here. So if you refresh this, and we get name and age here, so you can enter some name, or else you can say Tom, and you can give some age 50 and submit. So it is redirecting to the home.html. So what is happening is in insert, if you see the code, so whenever this URL has been invoked, it is invoking this insert data method. So that insert data method is present in views.py. So it is accessing the name and age values into these Python variables N and A, and it is creating an entry into the database. Once it creates the entry, it is rendering the same home.html file back. You can do various things. Instead of rendering home.html, you can render it to display the content what has been stored in the database. I made it very simple. I just rendered the same home.html for a second entry. So in this way, let me also show with another entry. So we have entered Tom. So first, let me just show the content. So this is the database we have. So let's run it. So as you can see, Tom has, and we have created an entry for Tom. So let me also rerun with a different entry now. So say here Kumar as one entry, and say 100 is the age, submit it, and you go back to your MySQL database and just run this. You can see the entry here. So in this way, we can access the data from the user through HTML forms. So through home.html, this is the HTML form we created. We accessed those name and age into the views, into Python variables N and A, and we have created the entry into the database by using this command customer.objects.create. So we can do various things with this. We can render it, the content, whatever we stored in the databases, or various other applications. So this is how we access input from the user through HTML forms and store the data inside the MySQL database. Thank you.